I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 121 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 3, Episode 5 of City Hunter, titled Dangerous Detective Game, A Python for the Lady, Part 2.
Wait, does she use... She does use a gun eventually.
Well, she doesn't use a python, though. That's the thing. She stole it last episode, but she doesn't actually use the .357 Magnum this episode.
I feel like this title is a little bit misleading, at least for this second half of this episode.
Well, really, I was kind of laughing after last week, rewatching the episode, and then this one, it felt simultaneously shorter, somehow, than every other episode of City Hunter we've ever watched, and also still felt like pulling teeth.
Well, there's just not a whole heck of a lot happening here. I would not be surprised if this episode ends up being relatively short in and of itself, because there's not a lot left to dive into.
No, there really isn't.
How did this end up still being almost a half-hour show with so little content in it?
I really felt this did not need to be a two-parter.
Nah, we could have shortened this.
If you had taken out the whole thing about the dog, this could have been one episode.
Could it have been done without the dog, you think?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Or maybe as we go through it, we'll figure out what the best way to condense this could have been.
Okay, what's happening?
Yeah, we're just gonna dive right into it because, screw this episode. So we'll go ahead and recap because, yes, it is a two-parter. So last episode, we had a client who we didn't know her name for the bulk of the episode.
Well, her name's I.
Aiko, actually.
Sure, well, they shorten her name to I, a lot, especially this episode.
The uncle does.
Yeah.
Who, we're gonna learn his name this episode.
Oh, wow. In fact, we learn his name pretty fast, all things considered.
Comparatively speaking, yeah. And we find out this woman is trying to become a detective, and the uncle doesn't like that, and she thinks that there's people following her and wanting her to not find this one particular dog with a weird face.
Well, it's true, but also, the uncle is acting kind of sus right at the end of the previous episode, and we hear some tires squealing outside of her detective building, and we're like, oh no, what is that? And then the uncle got hurt, and then he was like, oh no, it was a car, it was coming right at me, and he's supposedly injured his leg, but he's coming off sounding like he's just trying to do something suspicious to prevent her from doing detective shit. Quite frankly, what do we need City Hunter here for? That's the basis of this episode.
Well, last episode, what it was that she was so worried about all of this and wanting to be a good detective and worried about these people following her and trying to run her off the road that she went to Ryo to try and get him to teach her how to fire a gun. But Ryo didn't do that. Instead, he pushed that off on Kaori,
who really also did not do a super good job of teaching her how to fire a gun. She vaguely learned how to ricochet, which really, at the end of all of this, didn't even matter at all.
Not in the slightest.
No.
Even though she did kind of learn a skill.
None of this mattered.
And that should be enough to get us to the beginning of this episode. Continuing from last week, we saw that Ryo and Aiko are there at her detective agency, which again belonged to her father, and for whatever reason is right smack dab in the middle of the hotel district there in Kabukicho. So it's there's the little building that they're in, and then surround them is hotels on every side.
It's really kind of the wrong place to put that sort of a business, but here's somebody who's done it.
Well, not that somebody, assuming it was the dad, he did.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Somebody did it.
And, most episodes, I describe the way that Ryo moves around the screen as some kind of a perverted Spider-Man.
Well, this is very literal. He's very literally crawling around the outer walls of one of these love hotels.
Yeah, the only thing that's missing from him doing that is hearing the Kimi wa naze.
Yeah.
Kimi wa naze. He's a bean-faced, perverted Spider-Man right now.
Just looking into windows of people banging.
You can add voyeurism to the list of Ryo's kinks this week.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of gross.
Which is why he gets hit with the divine punishment log, not a hammer this week. So that's 2 weeks in a row that Kaori hasn't used a hammer.
Kaori is not using a hammer this episode at all.
So yeah. I feel like these two particular episodes really fell off. We had a streak going.
Yeah,
and y'all just ruined it.
Really needed that hammer, but all of these naked people come up to the windows. Some of them are in
not full apparel, let's say.
Undergarments. Some of them are in undergarments and stuff, and yeah, there's a couple of people wearing towels, but they're looking out the window hey, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, because Ryo's out there peeping in on them, ooh, I want to see some action. action. And Cody's like, cut that shit out. But from there we go to the hospital where we see that the uncle is laid up. Apparently his left leg got run over, hit, whatever from the guys.
Something happened to his left leg. Something.
And he's there with Aiko, and he's really, really laying it on thick to her. Like, oh my god, I got hurt. Just thinking of you. I think of you as my own child. If only I could spare you from the horrors of what happened to me. And
it's playing this really played up music for drama, which is how you know this whole thing is fake, because like they're leaning into it way too hard, into the melodrama. But he's almost got her though. She's really sitting here thinking about it like, okay, he's gotten injured, maybe I will just stop doing detective shit. And she almost admits to him, okay, I'm gonna stop. And he's like really overjoyed about this idea.
Like he flipped too fast.
He flipped a little bit too fast.
And right when she's about to say, I quit, the phone rings. They're in the hospital room, and it's Rio. And Rio happily has found the dog they've been looking for, which, if you'll recall, is the bet the two of them have between Aiko and her uncle, that if she can find the dog, then she doesn't have to quit being a detective.
Well, here we go. Rio has supposedly got the dog, except now she's running out to try and go pick up the dog.
And the uncle is not having that. As soon as she leaves the room, he's like, shit, I gotta do something about this.
He is so not having that he, totally with his broken leg, the leg is also magically unbroken. Now he's wall crawling and shit.
But very badly.
He's doing it pretty badly.
And he's back at the agency there, trying to climb in the window. Mind you, I think this guy had a key. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to get in there.
Oh, maybe.
And get to the dog. Like, he's under the assumption the dog is at the agency right now, and it's after hours. So he's trying to climb in the outside window, trying to see the dog, get to the dog, and he kind of misplaces his footing and falls. Thankfully, somebody's there to grab him, and it's Rio.
It's Rio, who's like, wow, awful spry for a dude with a broken leg, huh?
And so they bring him into the office, and everybody's in there, Aiko, Cowdy, Rio, and now Uncle. And Rio's like, okay, you need to explain this shit. I went looking through the bushes outside, and you know what I found? This little boombox. And there's a tape in the boombox. Let's see what happens when we hit play.
It's the sounds of the tires squealing outside of the car.
Exactly what we heard at the end of last week's episode. So, dude faked it. There was no car that hit him yesterday.
That's a very elaborate setup to fake getting hit by a car. And then, like, we're just not even gonna prove that he's got an injury to his leg at all. Literally, all he did was fall over.
Also, like, they had to check him into the hospital. Wouldn't they have noticed there was nothing wrong with his
leg?
That's
what I'm saying. Like, he didn't have to prove that it was in any way injured. He just went, oh!
And they just gave him a hospital bed. Like, what hospital is this where I can just go and lie down? I would like to know, because I'd like to get out of work later this week.
Also, like, you know the Japanese healthcare system must be pretty good by comparison to the American healthcare system, if he's not even worried about how much that's gonna cost just to fake it.
Well, in either case, he doesn't care about cost or the way he looks. He really doesn't want Aiko to continue being a detective.
Now, he is like, okay, you don't have to continue, because Rio says that he's got even more proof that he faked it, but he's just like, no, just stop right there. Okay, fine, I faked it. But look, I genuinely am concerned about her, and I really do think somebody is out there trying to do some shit. In fact, like, what is this? So, like, last episode, there were the two dudes in the car just around the corner, and they just happened to be there when he got the fake car hit injury?
Well, see, if I'm those guys in the car looking at this, they were like, I don't know what the hell's going on. We're gonna sit back for a second and wait for our chance.
This weirdo's just falling over in the street. What is this?
But for whatever it's worth, Aiko does feel a bit of familial tie to her uncle, and she's like, oh, I didn't realize I was being selfish. I'm sorry. I didn't mean all this. I didn't want it to all come to this. And again, the uncle immediately going from really sad and remorseful to, oh, great, so you're gonna quit and we're gonna get you out of this office. It's awesome. And Rio's like, yeah, it is awesome, isn't it, Uncle? Yeah, it sure is. Because you want her to stop being a detective. That's right, I do. Because you're a real estate mogul and you want this land. Hell yeah, I do. Wait. huh?
Because he really wants to try and continue building hotels in the spot where this business is currently standing.
So this is a Scooby-Doo-ass plot here. I want the land.
And even then, it's not like he's not concerned about her, but like two things are true at the same time.
He tells her as much. Look, I do care about you. You're my niece, but I also love money. Like, can't both exist at the same time?
And I guess apparently they do.
You know, they're chastising him like, well, you went too far with all this. I get that you're a real estate mogul, which automatically makes you an asshole. But on top of that, did you have to really go as far as to have the car try to run her off the road or give her the threatening phone calls? He's like, wait, I didn't do that.
Yeah, so somebody else really is out here trying to wreck your shit over a dog.
And Aiko's taken aback like, oh, well, damn, I didn't realize it was real. I mean, I thought it was fake right now, but it turns out it's real? There's danger? And the uncle again doubles down like, it is a real thing going on. You're not fit for this. You need to quit. And Aiko gets so distraught so fast, and I don't get what the decision was here. She tells him she doesn't like what he's saying. He needs to go home.
And then she
runs out of the office.
Why don't you go home? Okay, bye. And just turns around and leaves, crying.
This writing isn't great this week.
No, it's really... The first episode wasn't too bad, but now maybe it's that they knew they had just barely too much for one episode, but not actually enough for two. So they had to stretch it out.
Well, because what do you think it was? Like, they were trying to hit that 13-episode order for
that
a core?
Could be. You don't think they had another idea for a separate episode?
This doesn't sound like they had another idea.
Okay.
This sounds like one idea that they've stretched as far as they could go, and then some.
That could be.
And I guess that was the end of that, because she runs off. We jump to the next day, and we're not at the agency anymore. We're just out in the park with Cowdy and Ryo. And Cowdy, we don't get a good full look at it, but, you know, kind of like how Ryo's kind of wearing a knockoff version of his normal outfit, just with a khaki jacket instead of his normal powder blue. Now Cowdy's wearing this like AliExpress Temu, whatever it's called, I don't use it, version of the good jacket. So this is the fake jacket is what I'm gonna call this.
I don't even think it looks as bad as you're making it out to be.
It's like white and brown, but not like a good flattering brown. It's almost the same color as her hair now.
No, it's the same colors it always is. They're just kind of muted. That's the only thing that sucks.
No, they are not the same color.
They are so...
Go look.
No.
Go look. They're not. They are not the same colors. They are not the same colors in the slightest.
I don't think it's as bad as you're making it out to be.
It doesn't look good.
Well, I'm not saying it's perfect, because it's not.
It's not because it's bad.
It's not bad.
It's totally terrible.
Well, the part that I think is bad is that she's only wearing it for like 20 seconds.
And then they take her out of it, and then she switches to another. Yeah, that was weird here too, is that for whatever reason they keep like switching costumes here, and I don't understand.
Cowdy especially.
Cowdy
like,
especially.
Why?
Because she goes from this to like this ascot with a heart on it.
It's real big too. Like it's too much on her neck.
It is too much, yeah.
Like, you know, the skirt is fine, the shirt is mostly fine, but then the ascot is just like comically poofy large.
Like, Cowdy, you were an 80s fashion icon. What happened? Did the 90s do this to you? Are the 90s in the room with us right now?
Some man made this decision. I don't know.
Maybe. In any case, they're talking over the case, and Ryo's thinking, well, I don't think the uncle's lying necessarily. He is an asshole, but I don't think he was lying about saying he didn't do those particular things. And Cowdy tells him, well, I guess it's kind of interesting that you bring him up because we got a new case, and look who it's from.
It's the uncle! Well, I guess the uncle doesn't know that Ryo is City Hunter, never mind the fact that they've already met.
But on top of that, we now know the uncle's name is Koichiro Kamimura.
I'm glad that this is how we found out, although apparently Kaori and Ryo knew that because they're like, hey look, this name sure is familiar, so they were told at some point that that's what his name was. How come the audience doesn't get to know this until a really weird point in time?
I don't know. Like, this feels like somebody was out sick for these 2 episodes.
Like, honestly, did we even need the guy to also try to recruit City Hunter? Because Ryo is immediately like, alright, I'm gonna go talk to the uncle. And so they just jump straight to it, and he's like, oh, you're City Hunter? Yep, so now nothing has changed.
No, literally, they have a scene. They have a whole scene together that is literally just to take up time. And nothing changes at the end. He's like, well, I'm not helping with the dog anymore. That's between you two. I'm already helping her out. Okay, bye. And that's it. But that scene took like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Why? Why did we even need that?
Nothing is any different from what it was before the uncle tried to hire City Hunter 30 seconds ago.
So, after they met up with the uncle, which, again, was worth nothing, Aiko is gonna go off and pick up the dog, right?
Oh, right, because also, now, somebody else supposedly has the dog. It's this veterinary place, right? Like, there's a new place that supposedly has the dog.
Now, before Aiko takes off to go look for the dog and, pick it up, Ryo gives her a little gift and says, alright, be sure to only use this in case of an emergency, alright? Only if you absolutely need to, that's when you can open this up.
It's a box. In this shot, this box looks very, very small. It's a little blue box with a red heart on top, okay? It looks about the size of a matchbook, if you were to ask me from this particular shot. I just want to mention that right now, because it does not appear to be that small later.
No, it is a box of changing size. What we did think was funny was we saw a little sign here in the background as they're talking for UGG coffee.
There's no way it's not just a knockoff version of UCC coffee. It's those Japanese cans of coffee, that brand of coffee can, that often if you go into like Japanese grocers or whatever, you see them tied in with Evangelion.
They've done a ton of cross-promotion with Evangelion.
They've cross-promoted with Evangelion just like a shit ton over the years. I think to this day they continue to do it.
As recently as a couple of months ago, I think,
At the very least, yeah. I just saw a video of a guy from a couple of months back who went into like a Daiso or something and came out with UCC coffee with Evangelion shit all over it, so.
I had one that had Pen on it the one time. I think it was the first time I went into a Daiso, and that's all I needed because I'm not a coffee person.
Yeah, I mean, some people are just Evangelion heads and that's why they're buying that coffee. It's certainly not for the coffee.
And sometimes that's enough. So Aiko takes off to go pick up the dog, and now Kaori is relaying to Ryo the reason they were able to even find the dog and that somebody was contacting her to pick up the dog was that they decided to put the flyer out not just in the neighborhood, which seemed to be all she did was just the neighborhood around Kabukicho and the agency, but they sent it out to every veterinary office around Tokyo.
Or Shinjuku at the very least. Which, yeah, that is very foolish. Kabukicho's not very big. Like, you think a dog is only gonna go 2 blocks and then go, okay, that's too far.
like dogs can go for a
dog
while.
can keep going.
And the lucky thing is, yes, a dog was admitted to one specific place, the Sasaki Veterinary Clinic, a week ago, which is going to be very important here in a little bit. Aiko goes and picks up the dog, and this dog is described as a Mokkori dog.
Well, we talked about this last episode. Apparently, this dog really likes other lady dogs a whole heck of a lot. To me, it sounds like, hey, you're at the vet. Time to get him fixed. That's what this tells me.
That dog really needs to get fixed.
Very, very, very badly. Also, this dog is, like, way bigger than his posters would have you believe. The posters make you think, oh, it's somebody's lap dog or something, okay? No, this dog is, like, full-sized mutt. I don't know.
It's obviously a mutt, but what would you compare it to size-wise?
Oh, a golden retriever, maybe?
Maybe a little shorter than a retriever.
Just barely. Only barely. Like, he's like an 80-pound dog.
Yeah, okay, I'll say that. 80, 90-pound dog.
Yeah. Not a huge dog. We're not
but not
talking,
a small dog.
No, we're not talking Doberman, but we are talking, this is a moderate, relatively normal-sized dog.
Uh-huh. Now, before she got to the clinic, it turns out Ryo is the one who's gotten in contact with the head vet there at this vet clinic to go ahead and confirm, oh yeah, this is the dog she's looking for. Great. Hey, so what's wrong with the dog? The vet tells him, oh, well, it's got this injury on its front leg from about a week ago. That's when it came in, and we haven't been able to figure out what caused it. Ryo's like, could it have been a gunshot wound? And he's like, oh, maybe. I'm not a cop.
I'm not a cop. It's literally just a scrape. So the answer is yes, it was a gunshot wound, but, like, there's not a bullet in its leg, okay? It's not, like, a big old hole in its leg. It's not a bullet hole in the leg. It just grazed this dog.
But here's going to be the thing about it. We're going to get to it in a bit. The injury doesn't even matter.
No, you're right. The injury really, like, none of this matters. There's a shit ton in this episode that we're just saying it, and it doesn't matter that we're saying it.
But to give us a little bit of background, Ryo gets hit up on his pager. It's Cowdy with some more information. So to kind of go along this idea of it had to do with a gunshot. So 1 week ago, like we mentioned, that's when the dog showed up, a bank got held up. The crooks, there was 3 of them, made off with the money, and somehow people figured out where they were hiding, but didn't turn them into the cops. They all in-fought, and one of them got shot and ended up in critical condition.
Okay, great. What's that got to do with shit?
Well, we're getting to that. We're laying this all out because somebody didn't know how to write an episode. That's why
what
we're
this
doing
feels like. It really is what this feels like.
And Ryo's like, ha, that's probably it.
Why? What's that got to do with a dog?
We're getting there. They're just writing this really badly. So, Aiko comes, picks up the dog. We don't have to deal with the veterinary clinic anymore. She's just walking with the dog. And now...
And the dog is horny. And the dog might also be horny for people. Like, I don't know. It got really weird here.
Yeah, that's really, really sick, kinda. But thankfully that gets broken up because the 2 dudes in the white car come up and start harassing Aiko and say, come with us, you and the dog.
And she's like, no. And they're like, too bad. And there they go.
And so they're running away from the guys, and they happen upon a chain link fence that's right next to a warehouse. So they crawl under the fence, hide in the warehouse, somehow not by the docks this week.
No, it's just a warehouse. They know that she's gone into the warehouse because, like, part of her clothes have torn, and, like, there's just this little piece of fabric stuck to the fence, and they're like, haha, she's in there. And now the dog and the lady are hiding behind some boxes. I don't know, they're going to different places. Some of these boxes are for Japan, and some of these boxes are for America. Like, it doesn't matter. They're just boxes. They're just boxes for the sake of being boxes. And she's like, oh my god, they're gonna find us in here. What am I gonna do? And even the dog is being this weird Scooby-Doo, kind of like he's trying to cover her mouth with his paw. I don't know. Weird shit's happening.
Like, if the dog could talk, it was saying, ruh.
It's saying, ruh-roh.
Yeah, ruh-roh. And so she's like, oh crap, I'm cornered. I don't know what to do. Wait a minute. The package, the thing Ryo gave me. Now seems like a good time to use it. So she unwraps it, opens it up.
Well, she's pulled out this box. This box looks significantly larger than it did when it was given
it's grown by like 2 times for some weird reason.
It is now the full size of her hand, which is fine for what is in it, because what is in it is a whiskey bonbon. And if you know what those are, like, it's a chocolate thing, like, it's a chocolate treat that is full of alcohol.
It's got a liqueur in it.
Right, and this one just also happens to be shaped like a whiskey bottle. Like,
usually they're circular, but, I mean, in this case, it's whatever.
They can do whatever they want. If they want to get creative, like, that's cool. And she's like, well, it's a weird thing for him to give me, thinking that I might need to use it, but I don't know. This seems like a pretty desperate situation, because they're coming in here, and they got guns, and they're gonna kill me.
And I'm saying all this out loud so they know exactly where I am, and they're coming right towards me. Alright, screw it.
I eat this whiskey bonbon, and she's immediately plastered.
Again. And so, again, from last week, it turns out that when she gets drunk, she is a belligerent drunk, and decides to, like, talk mad shit again. Like, hey, what the hell are you doing? I'm over here with my dog, and you need to leave me alone.
It's like she's climbed up on top of all of these boxes, and she's shouting down at them. She sounds surly, like a Yakuza herself. Like, the way she's speaking is very, very much like she runs a gang.
And they're like, what the hell is she going on about? And she's like, you got any more bonbons? I want more bonbons. Give me more bonbons.
I can't believe Ryo only gave me 1 bonbon. Can you believe that, asshole? And hey, who's got more bonbons?
We don't know what the hell you're talking about, lady. Well, screw you! And she knocks over a bunch of boxes onto them.
Never mind the fact that she's standing on top of that entire pile of boxes. She, like, didn't think this through. That's because she's drunk. And so she, too, tumbles all the way down off the top of all these boxes. I mean, she nailed a couple of these guys. I mean, there's only a couple of them. She nailed them with the boxes.
And thankfully, the one guy who does have a pistol on him has dropped it, and it has landed at her feet. So immediately, she picks up the gun and is like,
don't move. Like, she doesn't quite even say it that well.
No, because she's drunk. And she's like, alright, You don't think I'm gonna hit you? I know how. I learned guns yesterday. I can
learned
do
guns
this.
yesterday.
Watch this. Look at this. I don't even have to point at you. I can point at the ceiling and I'm gonna hit you. And the guy's looking at her like, what is wrong with this woman? She thinks she's gonna hit me by pointing at the ceiling? I didn't watch the rest of the episode. I don't understand what she's doing. And she's like, all right, here I go, bang! And she fires the gun, and it does ricochet like it did at the firing range in the previous episode.
But not nearly as well as it should have, because, I mean, guess what? We saw this coming from, like, a million miles away. Like, she's got the gun in her hand, and I was like, so Ryo's here and is gonna save her with his gun, right? Yes, that is exactly what has happened.
Ryo is here in the warehouse, and has fired his gun to make up for the ricocheting bullet, and has taken the guy's sunglasses off his head.
So guess what? Remember how she halfway learned how to fire a gun last week? Fuck it! Absolutely didn't fucking matter.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter in the slightest.
Did not matter.
And now that she thinks she's successfully done it, she's like, yeah, check it out. It's my two-stage shot. I'm gonna do it again. Bang! And then she does it a second time, and Ryo compensates for that and then shoots the gun out of the guy's hand. Which doesn't make sense because I thought that was his gun that she's holding. So I guess they both had guns?
I guess. There's a lot of guns that are just unaccounted for. Sure.
I guess, sure. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. And somehow, dude doesn't think to run for it. He's like, wow, I'm just gonna stand here and watch as this woman displays gunmanship ability. And Ryo has decided at this point, man, this is a stupid episode. I'm just gonna shoot again whether she shot or not. And he manages to cut a rope that's dangling a box over this guy's head and just knocks the dude out.
Yeah, this guy, I don't know if he's okay, honestly.
Yeah, that would, if you've seen any episodes of Mythbusters, that would kill a man.
Yeah.
And let's not forget here, a box fell on the dog.
Yeah.
So doggy dead.
We just watched these people kill a dog, so... although the dog has gotten back up, the dog is fine, see, Scraps is fine!
Just kidding.
Blanks.
And so the other guy, who was also knocked out from the initial tumbling of the boxes, gets up, finds a pipe on the ground, and is gonna sneak up on Aiko. And Ryo, being a cute little whippersnapper, pulls out a tiny mallet.
Just the smallest hammer. This is infuriating. We've got a tiny hammer in this episode, and it's not even Kaori that uses it.
It's Ryo.
It's Ryo. Ryo, this isn't even your thing. What are you doing?
Like, you were doing your thing, Ryo. Like, you could have cold cocked him. You could have done any number of other comical things, but you took Kaori's thing when she didn't do her thing this week. What is going on?
The writing. The writers did not know what they were doing. Somebody just stepped up to the plate for the first time this week, and they were like, you know what to do with this show, right? All right, good luck.
And that was it. And guess what, guys? The episode's basically over.
This is, by the time you edit this, surely this is going to be like less than half an hour at this point in time.
I would imagine.
At the time that I am saying this right now.
I would imagine, yeah, because now it's just the wrap up here. They're back in the park waiting for the owner of the dog to come pick it up. And Ryo's having to explain to Aiko, yeah, so those guys are bank robbers. You know how...
why did the dog get shot again?
They're about to explain it, yeah. The dog,
they needed... What did the third guy put on
I'm trying to say, yeah, the third guy, between the three robbers, because they were the two robbers, and then the third robber tried to betray the two robbers, alright? And so the third robber had a key that he hid on the dog, and that's why the dog was important. The dog did get hit by a stray bullet, but it wasn't enough to, like, hurt the dog. It wasn't like, what was it, season 1, I think, where, you know, the girl got hit with a stray bullet, and the bullet was in her as evidence?
Was in her back,
yeah. It's not even like that. The dog didn't have a bullet in it. It wasn't evidence. The dog had a key this whole time.
And so the guy wanted to shoot a tiny scratch onto the dog.
No, he just hid the
No, he marked the dog so he would remember what dog it was that had the key. That's why he
But who's saying the dog would still have the key? The dog wasn't even wearing a collar. How are you keeping the key on the dog?
You know what? But the art showed him with a collar when the guy put the key on the dog. But there's no more collar on the dog when you see the dog.
That's what I'm saying.
So where's the consistency here? But also, like, that dog's gonna heal from that injury because you didn't actually actually, like, put a bullet through the dog,
Yeah,
right?
you just kind of nicked it.
And the dog is a very recognizable dog. It has a circular black spot around its eye. How many other dogs are you gonna see out on the street that look like this really weird-looking fucking mutt?
Also, what were you thinking, bro, where you're like, I need to hide this key?
Wait, where's the key now?
We don't know!
Where is the key now,
They are only bringing up this key now.
So wait, the key was hiding where the money was?
I guess, like, dude hid
So
the money in a safe.
Did we recover the money?
We don't know. We're only being told this now. There's only a minute left in this episode.
Don't you think maybe they should have spent, all that time where we just set stuff up and we just wasted time and it didn't mean anything? Don't you think they could have actually written the plot in that time?
Exactly. They could have had Sayako looking for this money. They could have had any number of things that made more sense for a City Hunter episode, but now it's just, oh shit, I forgot all these details. Just write them in right now. Just get them in. Get them in.
We had a guy, he had the money, and he had a key, and we had the dog, and then he injured the dog, and then he let the dog go. How was he gonna find the dog after that? I don't fucking know.
Where's the safe?
Where's the safe?
Where's
I
the
don't
key?
know. Where's the money?
None of that. None of that gets explained. Anyway, it's a little girl who owns Nana. She's real happy to see the dog. And Ryo's like, oh, I see in your face, Aiko, you've got that sparkle in your eye that your dad did when he was a detective.
Even though you never met the dad and saw the sparkle in his eye, because the dad is dead, so...
So why did you say that?
Why did you
that
say
line literally made no sense.
But also, now Aiko is going to close the detective agency.
Anyway.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Because she's like, oh, well, no, I'm gonna honor the bet I had with my uncle because I know that Ryo helped me solve this dog case.
So at least I will give her that. Out of any client that we've had throughout the entirety of the show, she's the only one to actually cop to, no, I didn't do any of this shit. This was all Ryo.
But also she's like, well, I'm gonna stop being a detective, but I'm not just gonna give the building over to you, Uncle. Like, I'm gonna do something productive with it. And the uncle's just like, okay, fine then. You don't have to give me the building. I'm just gonna build love hotels around your building.
So out here in LA, there's this project that's gonna go down fairly soon, where in the downtown area, they're trying to build a Costco, but because of the zoning laws, they can't just put a Costco there. So the way they get around that is building
affordable apartments around the Costco.
And that's how you get around that. So what the uncle has done is basically exactly the same thing. He's built this like arch of an apartment around the building on these blueprints he's showing Ryo. And the stupidest name is on the top of this hotel.
Hotel Godvilla?
Godvilla. Really, bro. I hope whoever worked on this episode got better. I really do.
Better. I don't know how you get better than Hotel Godvilla.
Also, we almost missed here the lady that was walking the poodle here in the park.
I mean, whatever. It's just a lady and a poodle, and
Ryo and Nana both get horny for the poodle and the lady, and then Ryo gets hit with a rake by Kaori.
Yeah, I think it's one of those rakes that, like, you use in a rock garden, like a Japanese Zen rock garden. Like, you rake it so that you've got these nice, even little rows of tiny pebble rocks. I think that's what that was.
I think you're right, yeah.
Because it wasn't a broom. It wasn't a push broom.
If it was, it was like a bristleless push broom.
Which is strange.
Yeah, so that's why I think you're right about the rake.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
The uncle's telling Ryo, hey, I kind of accept you and all that you've done for my niece. It'd be cool if you moved in with her. That'd be cool. And Ryo's like, oh, it would be cool. And Kaori's just there getting ready to hit him. I guess this is a hammer here at the end, right? The one that says super big on it.
Oh, okay, fine.
But she doesn't use it.
No, she doesn't actually hit him because we're already zooming out. We're already playing the final.
Through the sunrise. And that's the end of the episode.
What the fuck happened?
What was this?
What happened? It wasn't bad for the first half. No.
Okay.
The first episode wasn't bad.
The first episode wasn't bad, but this wasn't good.
No, what? I don't.
I think, can we say this? arguably this is the worst episode of City Hunter?
It very well could be. It is definitely one of the top 3 worst City Hunter episodes.
It's not the most upsetting episode. I mean, I don't dig the dog being as horny for people as dogs. I'm not down with that in the slightest.
No, it's kind of strange. I don't know. I feel like this next to the girl that had ESP. Like, anytime we've had episodes where people could do supernatural shit is the only thing that compares. But this is just flat out bad writing.
This is just a badly written episode.
Yeah.
It was badly written, badly executed. Some of the art was a little weird on, like, Ryo's face in some scenes.
Yeah, like, we went really shoujo looking in some
really
places.
off-model.
Yeah, it was off-model.
Also, the travesty that was that knockoff AliExpress jacket that they made Coyote wear.
I mean, it wasn't great, but I don't think it's as bad as you're making it
I hate
out
that
to be.
jacket. With a burning passion.
We barely saw the... That's what the problem is. We barely saw the jacket.
They shouldn't have even done it.
No, now I will agree with you there. There was no reason to even
because
do
continuity-wise, there was no reason to put her in that when they were immediately going to switch her back and forth between that and the ascot outfit.
That's what
like,
I'm
what
saying.
Was the point?
Yeah, what's the point? There I agree with you. There was no point.
So yeah, this is, like, we're upset, but for completely different reasons than we are with most other episodes where Ryo does something hella egregious and skeezy. No, this is just bad writing.
No.
This might be the first one where I can pretty much say with my full chest, you don't have to watch this episode.
Like, I guess you may as well not watch the first episode in this 2-parter either. Like, if you're not gonna get...
Like, you're not gonna miss anything.
No, I guess not. This was clearly filler problem.
Yeah,
right?
This is a filler problem right here. This isn't greatest hits. Like, we were consistently seeing for several episodes, oh yeah, greatest hits, I see what's recognizable about this in City Hunter, and now this episode happens.
It's fucking weird.
But you know what would make up for this?
What?
Is next week's episode. You know what would make you feel better? I know what would make you feel better.
What would make me feel better?
Umibozu.
And kittens.
Yeah.
Umibozu and kittens. Yeah, this is going in a great direction, actually. Even though, Umibozu is terrified of kittens, at least he's just scared of them, and he doesn't want to kill kittens or anything.
Yeah, he doesn't hurt animals.
He just is unreasonably terrified of cats.
But the other thing he's terrified of is somebody else making moves on Miki.
Oh, no.
And we're going to see a little of that next week where it looks like she might be getting hitched to someone else.
Are we going to be having an episode ready next week at all?
We've got a pretty busy next 2 weeks coming up. We will do our best.
Okay.
So
we're really trying here,
but feasibly, you might not hear from us again until July.
I'm just saying, next weekend we're getting double married.
Yes.
So, we're having our vows renewed.
Yeah, for a 10-year, and then the weekend after that is Anime Expo.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little rough, but I think at some point in time we could at least squeeze the recording in, and then maybe the week after actually do the editing. Like,
yeah.
I think that could be doable.
We might be able to do
that.
But
we might need to take at least 1 week away.
At least, yeah. Because it's a tall order.
It's rough. We got a lot to do.
But it's Umibozu, so we're willing to put in some time for him.
I'm always here for Umibozu.
Yeah. So we'll do that.
Alright, so come back next time when we cover the 5th episode of City Hunter 3, Stubborn Umibozu, Tale of the Jealous Kitten.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on most social media. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 121st episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, Josh isn't going anywhere.
Well, no, I'm not going anywhere. It's too hot outside.
Great, let's turn the AC back on.
Sounds good to me.